You've been telling yourself you're going to change your life for months, maybe years, but you keep waiting for that perfect moment, that magical day when you'll feel ready, when everything in your life will align just right. You wait for the money to be right, the schedule to be clear, the fear to disappear. You tell yourself you'll start when you feel motivated, when you have more time, when life calms down. But that perfect moment you're waiting for doesn't exist. It's a trap your mind creates to keep you in the same spot. Every single day you wait, you're building a habit of hesitation, and hesitation kills dreams. You have to realize the truth. If you don't start now, you'll be in the exact same place next year, except with more regret and less belief in yourself. The opportunity you're waiting for is the moment you're in right now. You think readiness is a feeling. You think courage is something you wait for to show up like an invitation, but courage doesn't knock on your door. Courage shows up after you step forward, after you take action in the middle of fear and uncertainty. Readiness comes from starting before you feel ready. Every single person who's ever changed their life started in the middle of chaos. They didn't have the answers. They didn't have perfect confidence. They didn't have the perfect plan. They just moved, and you have to move because the longer you stand still, the heavier your excuses become. You think you're protecting yourself by waiting, but you're actually building a prison around yourself, brick by brick, with every delay you choose. The truth is, the clock is ticking whether you act or not. Life doesn't pause for you to get comfortable. Every second is gone forever, and while you're telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow, someone else out there is putting in the work you're avoiding. Someone else is building the life you want, one rep, one page, one step at a time. They're not waiting for motivation. They're moving in spite of not feeling like it. And when they show up on the day you finally decide to start, you'll wonder how they got so far ahead. It wasn't magic. It wasn't talent. It was action while you were still talking about action. You've been tricked into thinking there's some magic switch inside you that will flip one day, and suddenly you'll be ready to change everything. But that switch doesn't exist. The only thing that changes you is work, relentless, daily work that starts before you're ready. If you wait to feel ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. The people who break out of mediocrity aren't special, they're decisive. They act before the voice in their head talks them out of it. They move before their fear grows louder. They don't negotiate with their excuses. You're stuck because you're negotiating with yours every single day. You tell yourself you'll start after one more Netflix episode, after one more late night, after one more weekend of comfort. But your future doesn't care about your comfort. Your future is shaped by the actions you take right now, not the actions you plan to take someday. Change is ugly in the beginning. It's uncomfortable, messy, and full of mistakes. That's why most people never start. They want the results without the awkward, uncertain, exhausting work at the start. But the ones who start in the middle of the mess, they become unstoppable. Because they learn that progress doesn't come from waiting for perfect conditions. It comes from creating momentum in the middle of imperfection. The people you look at as inspiring didn't get there by sitting in a comfortable room planning for years. They jumped into the storm and figured it out as they went. You've got to do the same. Every time you say, I'll start when, you're giving your dreams an expiration date. You think you're avoiding failure, but you're guaranteeing it. You're letting life pass by, believing you'll have the same time, energy, and health later as you do now. But you won't. Life will pile on more distractions, more responsibilities, more noise. And if you can't start now with what you have, you won't start later when things get even harder. That's the truth. People don't want to hear your later will never be easier than now. In fact, the longer you wait, the more you weaken your ability to act. Action is a muscle, and if you don't use it, it atrophies. That's why so many people look back on their lives with regret. They waited for the perfect moment until their window closed. You have to stop lying to yourself about why you haven't started. It's not because you don't have enough time you waste hours every week on things that don't move you forward. It's not because you don't have enough resources. The most successful people in history started with less than you have right now. It's not because you're too tired you're tired, because you're living a life that drains you instead of one that fuels you. The real reason you haven't started is because it's easier to stay the same. It's easier to complain than to act. It's easier to fantasize about the life you want than to endure the work to get it. But easy won't change you. Easy won't make you proud. Easy will leave you stuck. You need to decide that now is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not after the holiday. Right now. You need to prove to yourself that you can take action before your mind talks you out of it. That's how you break the cycle, by moving when you don't feel ready, when it's inconvenient, when it's hard. That's how you train your brain to see action as the default, not hesitation. You stop living like you've got all the time in the world and start living like every second counts. Because it does. The moment you stop waiting and start moving, everything changes. The fear doesn't disappear, but it stops controlling you. The doubt doesn't vanish, but it loses its power. The uncertainty doesn't go away, but you learn to navigate it. You start to build momentum, and momentum is the most powerful force you can create. It turns small, imperfect actions into massive change over time. But you can't get momentum by thinking about it. You get it by starting right now, exactly where you are, with whatever you have, no matter how unprepared you feel. You just move, and then you move again tomorrow, and then the next day. And before you know it, you've built something real, not because the timing was perfect, but because you stopped waiting for it to be. Most people spend their whole lives trying to run away from discomfort, as if the purpose of life is to avoid anything that makes you sweat, struggle, or suffer. They build their days around comfort, the soft bed, the easy job, the familiar routine, the predictable life. And because of that, they never grow. Comfort is the slowest form of death. It tricks you into thinking you're safe, while it slowly robs you of your strength, your hunger, and your potential. If you want to change your life, you have to flip the script. You have to stop seeing discomfort as a punishment and start seeing it as the fuel for your growth. Every single breakthrough in your life will be born out of something that hurts, something that tests you, something that forces you beyond what's easy. You've been told to look for shortcuts, to find the easiest path, but the easiest path leads to the weakest version of yourself. The hard road is where the transformation happens. When you push through the burn in your muscles, when you stay focused while your mind screams for you to quit, when you wake up early even though every part of you wants to stay in bed, that's where you're building discipline. That's where you're building mental toughness. You don't become stronger by doing what's comfortable. You become stronger by enduring what's uncomfortable and refusing to let it break you. Discomfort is a test, and every day you're being tested. The question is whether you pass or fail. When you take the easy way out, you fail. When you stop at the first sign of difficulty, you fail. But when you embrace the challenge, when you lean into the pain and keep moving forward, you pass. And the more you pass those tests, the more you transform into someone who can handle anything life throws at you. The things that used to scare you will become nothing. The obstacles that used to stop you will feel like war, maps. The pain that used to break you will become your training ground. You've got to change the way you think about struggle. Most people see pain and think, something's wrong, I need to stop. But you have to see pain and think, this is where the growth is. This is where the work begins. You have to rewire your brain to see the challenge as the opportunity. That's not some motivational slogan. It's survival. Because life will bring you pain whether you want it or not. The difference is whether you use that pain or let it use you. If you run from it, it will control you. If you embrace it, it will shape you into something unbreakable. Think about every time in your life you truly grew as a person. It wasn't when things were easy. It was when you were stretched, pushed, and forced to face things you didn't think you could handle. It was in the middle of the struggle, the sleepless nights, the uncertainty, the heartbreak, the grind. That's where the real you starts to take shape. That's where you find out what you're made of. But most people will never experience that because they're too busy avoiding it. They want the reward without the resistance. They want the win without the war. When you choose discomfort, you're not just building strength, you're building proof. Every hard thing you do is proof to yourself that you can do more. It's a vote for the person you want to become. And the more you vote for that person, the harder it is to quit on them. When you avoid discomfort, you're voting for the weaker version of yourself. You're saying, I don't trust myself to endure. And over time, that's exactly who you become, someone who doesn't trust themselves to handle anything hard. That's why so many people live lives that feel small and limited. It's not because they're incapable, it's because they've trained themselves to avoid anything that might push them past their comfort zone. You have to hunt discomfort, you have to go looking for it every day. That means putting yourself in situations that make you sweat, make you nervous, make you uncomfortable. It means doing the reps when you're tired, speaking up when you're scared, taking the shot when you might fail. Every single one of those moments is a step toward becoming the person who can handle anything. If you only operate in comfort, you'll never know what you're capable of. But if you live in discomfort, you'll unlock potential you didn't even know you had. Pain is the price you pay for progress. There's no way around it. You can't get stronger without stress on the muscle. You can't build endurance without fatigue. You can't become disciplined without resistance. Every time you feel that pain, that pressure, that struggle, you have to remind yourself, this is the process. This is the cost of greatness. The people who inspire you didn't get there by avoiding the grind. They got there by living in it. And if you want what they have to be willing to pay the same price. Discomfort will expose you. It will show you exactly who you are when things aren't going your way. That's why it's so valuable. In comfort, you can pretend to be disciplined, strong, and committed. In discomfort, the truth comes out. You can't fake your way through pain. You either endure or you quit. And the more you choose to endure, the more you become someone who can't be broken. That's the kind of person who wins in life, not the one who had the easiest path, but the one who kept walking the hardest one. So the next time you feel that pull to stay comfortable, to take the easy way, to avoid the struggle, remember that every time you give in to comfort, you give up a piece of your future. Every time you embrace discomfort, you earn a piece of it. That's the trade. That's the deal. You want to change your life. Stop chasing comfort and start chasing the hard things. Because the hard things are where you become unrecognizable to the old you. Where you look back months from now and don't even recognize the person who couldn't handle what you can handle now. That's what discomfort does. It builds you into someone you've never been before. Someone you'll be proud to meet.